Chills Unveiled, trio of terrifying tales. Echoes of the past. It was a stormy night, the kind that sends shivers down your spine and makes every creak of the house seem like a whisper from the beyond. Emily, a young woman with an affinity for horror movies, decided to spend her evening indulging in her favorite pastime. Alone in her dimly lit living room, she scrolled through a list of films, searching for something to send a chill down her spine. After much deliberation, she settled on an obscure movie she hadn't seen before, titled Echoes of the Past. The description was vague, promising a psychological thriller that delved into the darkest corners of the human mind. Intrigued, Emily pressed play, sinking into the comfort of her couch as the movie began. At first, it seemed like any other suspenseful film, with eerie music and mysterious characters. As the plot unfolded, however, Emily's unease grew. The setting mirrored her own home. The characters eerily resembled people from her life, and the events unfolded with an unsettling familiarity. As the movie progressed, Emily's initial curiosity transformed into a chilling realization. The protagonist on the screen bore a striking resemblance to herself, and the unfolding scenes mirrored events from her own past. The hairs on the back of her neck stood on end, and a cold sweat broke out on her forehead. Unable to tear her eyes away, Emily watched in horror as the movie began to predict her every move. Scenes played out exactly as they had in her life, from the mundane to the deeply personal. Panic set in as she questioned the nature of reality itself. In a desperate attempt to prove her sanity, Emily paused the movie and rushed to the bathroom mirror. Staring at her reflection, she sought any sign that she was still in control of her own existence. The reflection stared back at her, mirroring her fear and confusion. Trembling, Emily returned to the living room, and to her horror, the movie continued playing without her intervention. The storyline now shifted to events she hadn't experienced yet, alluding to a grim fate that awaited her. As the terror escalated on the screen, Emily's heart raced in tandem. The realization struck her like a bolt of lightning. She might be watching the movie of her own demise. The line between fiction and reality blurred, and Emily grappled with the horrifying prospect that she was no longer alive, but trapped in a haunting playback of her past. In a surreal and nightmarish twist, the movie concluded with a scene that mirrored the stormy night outside. The protagonist, an uncanny replica of Emily, faced an ominous and otherworldly force. As the screen went black, Emily found herself in a chilling silence, alone in the darkness. The room seemed to close in on her as she questioned her existence. Was this the afterlife, or some twisted dimension where the past played on an endless loop? The storm outside intensified, echoing the turmoil within Emily's mind. As the credits rolled on the screen, Emily sat motionless, trapped between the realms of the living and the dead, haunted by the echoes of her own past. The storm outside raged on, carrying with it the unsettling whispers of a reality that defied explanation. Whispers of despair. Mark and Emma, a seemingly happy couple, decided to start anew in a small, nondescript apartment on the outskirts of a quiet town. Excitement filled the air as they unpacked their belongings, envisioning a future filled with promise and hope. The first week in their new home passed without incident. However, as the days wore on, an unsettling atmosphere began to settle over the couple. Whispers in the walls, shadows that seemed to move independently, and an unshakable feeling of dread permeated the once vibrant apartment. Sleep-deprived and anxious, Mark and Emma's once blissful relationship began to crumble. Late at night, they could hear the faint echoes of mysterious footsteps pacing through the hallways. Yet upon investigation, the source remained elusive. One evening, unable to bear the oppressive atmosphere any longer, Mark and Emma decided to confront whatever malevolent force haunted their home. Armed with a flickering flashlight, they ventured into the darkened corners of the apartment. As they explored, the air grew heavy with an otherworldly presence. Unseen eyes seemed to watch their every move. The couple's desperation escalated, fueled by a force that seemed to feed on their fear. Days later, the neighbors were disturbed by a chilling silence from the apartment. Concerned, they contacted the authorities. When the police arrived, they found the lifeless bodies of Mark and Emma hanging side by side in the living room. The haunting image of their lifeless forms sent shivers down the spines of even the most seasoned officers. Beside the lifeless couple, a note was found. It simply read, "Never again." The cryptic message offered no explanation, leaving investigators puzzled and unnerved. Rumors of the haunted apartment spread like wildfire, and the once desirable residence became a place of dread for anyone brave enough to consider living there. No subsequent tenant could escape the malevolent force that lingered within the walls. Each occupant succumbed to an overwhelming despair, haunted by unseen horrors that ultimately led them down the same tragic path as Mark and Emma. The apartment, now shrouded in a macabre reputation, remained vacant, a silent witness to the inexplicable and terrifying events that unfolded within its confines. The town whispered of a darkness that clung to the walls, a force that vowed never again to anyone daring to call it home. Whispers in the dark. In the quiet town of Raven's Hollow, a group of friends gathered at an old, abandoned mansion on the outskirts. The night was young, and their laughter echoed through the empty halls as they decided to pass the time with a game of truth or dare. Little did they know that their innocent game would lead them into the depths of terror. As the clock struck midnight, casting an eerie glow through the broken windows, the friends huddled together in a dimly lit room. The air was thick with anticipation as the game unfolded, with each revelation and dare escalating in intensity. Sarah, the adventurous soul of the group, chose dare when her turn came. The others exchanged mischievous glances, concocting a plan to send her on a chilling quest through the mansion's abandoned corridors. Sarah, undeterred by the eerie atmosphere, ventured into the darkness, armed with nothing but a flickering candle. As she explored the decrepit mansion, the friends waited in suspense for her return. However, the air grew heavy with an unspoken fear, and an unsettling feeling crept over the group. Suddenly, as if a malevolent force had seized control, all the lights in the mansion extinguished simultaneously. The room plunged into pitch darkness, and an oppressive silence filled the air. Panic set in as the friends fumbled for their phones, attempting to illuminate the room with the feeble glow of their screens. In those 10 harrowing seconds of darkness, a blood-curdling scream pierced the stillness. The friends, now trembling with fear, managed to restore the dim lighting in the room. Their hearts sank as they realized one of their own was missing. Frantically searching the mansion, their worst fears were confirmed when they discovered Sarah's lifeless body in a forgotten corner, bathed in the cold light of the moon filtering through a shattered window. Horror etched on their faces. The friends recoiled at the gruesome sight before them. No explanation could be found for Sarah's sudden demise. The atmosphere within the mansion grew more oppressive, and a haunting realization dawned upon the group. Something malevolent lurked within the shadows, a vengeful spirit unleashed by the twisted game they had played. As the remaining friends grappled with the shock of the night's events, the mansion seemed to whisper with unseen horrors. The once innocent game had awakened a malevolent force that sought retribution for a long-buried sin. In the aftermath of that fateful night, the abandoned mansion of Raven's Hollow stood as a silent witness to the tragedy that unfolded within its walls. The friends, forever haunted by the memory of their ill-fated game, couldn't escape the chilling truth that some dares were better left unspoken. Thank you for diving into the spine-chilling mysteries with Chills Unveiled. If you've enjoyed the eerie tales and creepy narratives that send shivers down your spine, make sure to subscribe to our channel for more hair-raising content. Hit that notification bell so you never miss an unveiling of the unknown. Join the community of thrill seekers and let the darkness unfold. Subscribe now and let the nightmares continue.